Hello, lords and ladies, and welcome to CK3 Dev Diary 65. One culture is not enough. So in this dev diary, I hope to be fairly quick and efficient, but we're going to basically cover hybridization, how it works, and a little bit of cultural divergence, and there is a lot to cover. So first things first, you need to actually own a certain amount of cultures to hybridize, so there's not going to be any weird combos like Swedish, Indian cultures right off the bat, unless you send some kind of weird Orangian adventure or some kind of adventure down to Ceylon or something just to hybridize cultures. So you need to actually own a certain amount of counties, so you have to be very careful when planning out your cultural combinations, so there's not going to be any kind of weird stuff like that right out from the start. Though knowing CK3's player base, I'm not going to temper my expectations. Also, you need to have cultural acceptance to form an actual culture, so you can't just have two different cultures and just start really warring another culture and pissing them off and then not expecting any backlash. You need to actually improve and foster relations with that culture. And then another thing is that you cannot hybridize with cultures of the same heritage. So I couldn't make something like an English culture or two very similar cultures between High German, maybe Low German, so like a German Austrian culture. It has to actually be something like French Occitan. I believe they have different heritages, or maybe something like French Iberian, something like that. Another interesting feature is that there are default names for hybrid cultures, but there are unique synergies and you can name your own. So if I don't want to have the Afghan Kashmiri culture, I can actually just name it something like Afmiri or Kashgan or whatever have you. I could even name it the Meme Desert culture, and it would be perfectly fine, but there are default and custom Easter eggs for different cultures if the AI happens to form them. Another important thing to remember is that you can mix traditions and heritages from cultures, but you must ensure that the pillars for these cultures are one-to-one. So this ensures that cultures are actual hybrids and that you're not just picking 80% of a culture's traditions and everything else and it's completely dominating your own culture. You can even choose to hybridize clothing, seen here, architecture, and names. So I could pick Afghan names, pick Kashmiri buildings, and I could even pick one language to dominate over the other, which is fairly interesting, but unfortunately there is no language hybridization yet, though that could change in the future, we don't know. Something really big for different strategies that players may implement across the games in their playthroughs, though it may vary on their campaign depending on where they start, is that hybrid cultures acquire previous innovations. So if another culture has great techs, there are clear benefits to fusing. So if I was maybe starting off as an Afghan culture, kind of displayed here, and the French had some amazing techs, and I just so happened to own Occitanie or some kind of some bordering sea county, just to kind of make this seem somewhat realistic, though it is pretty far-fetched. I could inherit those laws maybe if they had primogeniture and I didn't, and basically fuse with them, and I'd get both of the culture's traditions or innovations. You can actually pick and choose traditions. In this cultural acceptance, if I'm going to go conquer the French coast as some very foreign culture, and I'm not even going to have the same religion, which might affect cultural acceptance, I really need to parlay with the French locals and kind of make sure that they're actually listening to me so I can form the cultures as a hybrid. And to kind of do that, as seen here, I do need that high cultural acceptance. And a cultural acceptance, interestingly, reduces the cost of reforming cultures, and having a high cultural acceptance can increase the amount of counties you convert. However, if you merge cultures with a low cultural acceptance, you may have to connect and convert a lot of these counties that you've just conquered. So to counteract this, you can actually promote cultures through your council. So something like high learning, I don't know if they named the specific council member that you're going to kind of depend on to start converting or promoting culture. It might even be a decision, but it seems like through your council or through some kind of means, you can get, maybe someone with high learning possibly to kind of help promote culture. So again, learning or possibly diplomacy may have a fairly big aspect in merging and hybridizing cultures. Interestingly, though, just because you can mess around, that doesn't mean the AI won't mess around. Naturally, the AI is just on default not going to form hybrid cultures, but as you can see here, they've actually formed a few interesting cultures. I believe they formed the Norse Gale culture, which is going to be kind of an interesting hybrid, seeing as I don't think that happened historically. And then you can probably also form some more historical cultures, like something like a Norse English culture, or you could even form the English culture with the Gaelic culture culture. And then large cultures naturally diverge near cultural borders. So maybe like in this map, you can see here some of the borders here near the English. Right near this culture could start to diverge and form their own. You can actually see it right here, actually. I just realized you can see that the cultural borders here that were previously English have formed with some of the Norse cultures here, and so they're starting to fuse. There's also a Cumbrian culture with the Gaelic culture, and it looks like they're starting to fuse here naturally, which is very, very cool. And then here, as I kind of mentioned earlier, there are actually a lot of presets you can kind of mess around with. So you have regional heresies, you have divergent culture frequency, hybrid cultural restrictions, and that is just going to be really fun to mess around with, though. I might have to see just how much the AI can kind of F things up with just hybridization, because I know the AI definitely doesn't pull its punches when it does weird stuff, just like the player in CK3. So, I mean, it's either one of these things where you are just, I guess, for me, I'm either completely chaotic or I just want to have a relaxed game. There's no in the middle. I just like to mess around a lot, or I just like to have a tame game. So I don't think I'll ever go for something in the middle. But I mean, maybe if it's for something like a Let's Play, I could see. But this has basically been the end of the dev diary. I hope you liked my very quick breakdown. There are definitely some individual specific details you can catch in the dev diary here, which I will link below in the description. But again, thank you guys for watching For Extraordinaire. And if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. All right, I hope you guys stay tuned for my next dev diary breakdown, and I hope to see you guys later. All right, peace.